All right, so for this question, f of x represents the income. So if we wanted to determine whether or not they could ever reach $6,000, we would replace our f of x with 6,000. We put that in standard form, and after it's in standard form, we pull out our a, b, and c. A is negative 40, b is 300, and c is negative 600. You plug that into the discriminant. The discriminant will tell you whether or not the equation is solvable. So if it's not solvable, then they can't reach 6,000. So since it does equal out to be a negative, and you can't square root a negative, they'll never reach an income of 6,000.
3, 2, 1.
The quadratic discriminant is important so that you can know whether or not to waste time solving the question. If you first determine that it is negative, then you shouldn't even try to plug it into the formula. All right, so if we look at the same equation under different circumstances, this question wants us to see what is the maximum amount of money that they could make in the month. So to find a maximum, it's best to complete the square. So if you start with standard form, rewriting it in standard form, to complete the square you have to factor off the negative 40. You divide by 2, add and subtract that. And then once you're finished, you end up with the axis of symmetry and the maximum. So I rewrote that to be not in a decimal, not in a fraction, so that way we can actually see. So the maximum amount of money they could make in the month is $5,962.50. So for the final part of the question, we're going to solve for the zeros. It's asking when will they make no income. So you replace the f of x, which represents income, with a 0, and you solve. So this would be a little bit too difficult to factor. In fact, it's not factorable, but you can plug it into the quadratic formula. So here we have the quadratic formula. If you use your calculator, you type in negative 40, store that as your A, store that as your B, store that as your C, and then when we type it in here, it'll be very simple and you won't have to make mistakes. So you hit the numerator denominator button, we're going to hit negative, we're going to go through until we get to B, negative B, we're going to start with plus, and then we'll switch it to minus, square root of B squared minus 4A C all over 2A. Now we just have to hit enter and it does all the work for us. So this is negative 8.45. And if we want the other solution, we just go back, we reselect our equation, and we switch that to a minus because it's plus or minus the square root. So now we have 15.959. All right, so we obviously aren't worried about selling negative items, so we can just throw that solution out. If they sell 16 items, they're going to go in the hole.